Begin the mission.
So either you're new here and you haven't seen my first video to this series, or you're coming directly from my first video where we covered what custom parts and mobile suits for you to get, and you're wondering, what the hell do I do with these things? Don't worry, because this time around, we're covering how to get ready for a match, as well as giving you some ideas for how to play in your first few matches. And let's just jump right into it. In my last video, we covered what parts for you to purchase. Using these together, in one combination or another, basically add up to a defensive build setup. You have the special leg armor to prevent your legs from being broken so easily, the anti-ballistic, anti-beam, and anti-melee armor parts, and some parts for added HP to either your mobile suit or shield. Pay attention to your mobile suit stats to help you determine what custom parts for you to use. For your first match, I recommend sticking to the ground, since space can be a lot more intense. For me, this time around, I'm going to be using the Power GM, which is one of the suits I mentioned in the last video. Naturally, I'm going to make sure I place a special leg armor level 3 on it. It doesn't have a lot of melee resistance, so I'll definitely be increasing that by a bit with the anti-melee armor level 2. Since it's a match that's below 500, I'll also be giving it some anti-ballistic armor level 2 as well. Next up is the shield. I could give it the level 2 shield reinforcement part, so I could also give it the anti-melee armor level 1. But I think that giving the shield that little extra bit of HP will help me out a little more. I just need to remember not to get into too many close quarter fights. And even though it's not much, I'll add the level 1 enhanced melee program. As I said before, this is a basic defensive build. There are a number of other ways you can choose later to customize your suits depending on your preferred playstyle. You can choose to go for more offense or mobility. It really all depends on you. This is just to help you live long enough to be able to figure out what you like. To keep this even more simple, I'm going to be using the bullpup machine gun. The Power GM can also use a GM rifle, which is a lot more powerful and has slightly longer range. However, it is a little difficult to use compared to the bullpup, and the reload takes a little longer as well. So, for now, I recommend sticking with the bullpup. There's nothing too complicated here. I only have 2 ranged weapons, including the machine gun and 1 melee weapon. It may not seem like much compared to other suits that have 2 or 3 or more secondary weapons, but you'll be surprised how sometimes simplicity beats out more complex weapon systems. Also, just know that my Zakuto for Assignment video also covers a similar form of gameplay style in case you want to use something besides the Power GM. Anyways, here we go. This is actually my first match for the new account that I created for this video. So everything that I'm using is available to you as well. None of my mobile suits have been enhanced, and I'm currently in a D- rating. The only thing that I have that you don't is experience. At the same time, just know that I'm not doing anything special. I'm not playing like some ace pilot. I'm not Admiral Ray. I'm not Char Aznavour. I'm actually playing like a grunt, walking around, shooting, and doing my best to stick with my teammates. And you'll see that all I'm doing is alternating between my machine gun and head Vulcans. Their fast reload speeds basically mean that I can shoot non-stop so long as I alternate between them. When you play in a match, it's very important that you don't rush ahead of your teammates. If you do, your chances of survival go down really fast. Try helping each other out and know when to fall back. And try not to take anything personal when someone on the other team gets a good hit on you. The outcome to every match will be determined by 3 key conditions. The first is your skill level. This basically boils down to your experience and knowledge of your mobile suit along with the ones your opponents are using. If you know what the enemy mobile suits are capable of, then you should be able to predict what they're going to try to do. The best player is not necessarily the one with the mobile suit that has the most skills and higher stats, but the one who is more knowledgeable. Some simple steps you can take to improve your gameplay is to familiarize yourself with what mobile suit you are using. Know their skills and cooldown rate in between shots for each of their weapons, as well as how long their reload rates are. In addition, you should pay attention to your own strengths and weaknesses as a player. As you progress in rating and rank, you will eventually run into players who seem to be able to predict your next move. That's because they are familiar with your mobile suit and your playstyle. For example, the Jada and the GM3 Powered are both very easily predictable to me, and most other players. Most veterans know that Jada likes to use its melee attack, along with its beam rifle and missile combo. The GM3 Powered, on the other hand, really likes using its 2 tackles in combination with its melee, as well as backstabbing their teammates from time to time. Being a skilled player is also determined by your adaptability. This boils down to being familiar with the maps you are playing on and figuring out what mobile suit best fits your playstyle for that particular map. It also helps not to be stuck playing in one specific way. This makes you one-dimensional and will limit your performance when the other team just so happens to have your number. The best advice I can give you when the other team has your number is do your best to not die as much. That may sound really obvious and oversimplified, but hear me out. The less you die, the less points you give to the other team. You may not be doing the best on your team, and you may not even get a single kill for the entire match, or come out in the top 4. When you're struggling and basically feel like you're being shut down by the other team, the best thing for you and your team is to fall back and basically provide assistance from the background. Don't try being a hero when the other team has your number. It happens to the best of us. Just provide backup and maybe try helping someone else on your team take the lead. The second comes down to teamwork. Your teammates' adaptability and flexibility are also factors. It doesn't matter how good someone is if their teammates keep dying really fast. Sometimes players are really stuck playing one way that doesn't gel well with the rest of the team. If your team isn't rushing ahead, then there's no sense in you rushing ahead yourself. At the same time, the entire team could be rushing ahead too far and too fast for the support to keep up, leaving them wide open to attack by the enemy raid. And just the same, there could be a support on your team who can't adapt to your team's needs and strategy. In any case, do your best to know where your teammates are the entire time. This happens to everyone at one point or another. You could be trying to stick with your team, but in the process of fighting one or more enemies, you eventually discover that you've been separated from everyone. When this happens, try falling back to your nearest teammates. Or if everyone is dead, try retreating to your nearest spawn point to lure whoever is chasing you into a trap when your teammates spawn back in. It also helps to know what your teammates want to do. For example, you don't always have to downswing an opponent. Sometimes just keeping them in a stun lock when your team has them surrounded is the better option. And if your teammates are really close, downswinging with your melee may not be the best option, since you risk knocking down a friendly. I'm looking at you, Red Riders, and similar raids. In this scenario, try limiting your melee attacks to up and side swings. While other times, maybe knocking down a friendly is the best way to save them, and some rare occasions when it's the only way to get to a raid charging at your support. And lastly, for the second part, is know when to help a teammate and when not to. This may sound harsh, but if you see a teammate rush ahead of everyone and finds himself surrounded, maybe helping them isn't the best option. You could very easily end up giving 2 free kills to the enemy team instead of 1, and then your team will be left outnumbered 3 to 5. At the most, try providing them with some cover fire to allow them to retreat to your front lines, or to at least wait and see if anyone else on your team is going to step in for backup. This also applies to respawning. Know when to respawn. If your teammates are waiting to respawn as well, or maybe they're about to die themselves, 95% of the time it is not a good idea for you to rush back in. Wait until everyone is ready to respawn with you. Otherwise, you'll end up dying pretty much from the moment you respawn. And the third key is luck. A big part of this game comes down to rock, paper, scissors. Sometimes the other team could just have better mobile suits for the type of playstyle that they want to use against you and your team, while your team just so happened to pick some mobile suits with a different strategy in mind and weren't in a position to adapt. For this reason, the team makeup is very important, and why we typically go with 3 generals on a team and with 1 support and 1 raid. Even with this, however, luck still plays a major factor. The support on the other team could have longer range for the bigger maps, or the other team's raid could be better suited for whatever map you're playing on. Other times, you can run into a team that decided to all pick supports, meaning that none of your generals are going to be able to do much, and your raids will have no blockers despite having tap advantage. Or it could be that your team went all supports, and the other team decided to use nothing but raids. There are also scenarios where you might have the perfect setup for fighting in close range, but the other team decided to use long range and prevent you from getting close to do any kind of real damage. In addition to all of this, if you typically play with random players, that means that one of the worst things you can run into is a skilled team that are all paired up together in a party chat, since they will be able to communicate a lot better during the match compared to a team of randoms that only have the quick chat options to talk with. This may be true for any game, but Gundam Battle Operation 2 is one of those games where the impacts of this are felt more so than others. For this match, I pretty much have all 3 boxes checked. I have the right weapon setup compared to my opponents. Take for example this Aqua GM. It's using a harpoon gun. For every time he misses, that's 4 seconds of him not being able to shoot again with his primary gun. At close range, it might actually beat out my machine gun, but I'm forcing him to keep his distance out in the open. And every second that goes by, I'm continuously doing damage. Remember, nothing fancy. He has missiles for a secondary weapon, but they're not as fast as my bullets. And this almost looked too easy. The GM Kai works in the same way with the exact same playstyle at the lower cost matches, in case you're wondering about the other shoots I recommended to you. Moving on over to space? Oh boy, here we go. Space is a different beast entirely, if I'm to be honest. Before GBO2, I used to look up at the stars and wonder what else was out there. I would hear Carl Sagan's voice in my head narrating my thoughts and imagining my own Mass Effect adventure.
If it takes a little myth and ritual to get us through a night that seems endless, who among us cannot sympathize and understand? But if our objective is deep knowledge, rather than shallow reassurance. The gains from this new perspective far outweigh the losses. Once we overcome our fear of being tiny, we find ourselves on the threshold of a vast and awesome universe.
But after GBO2, it's like waking up from cryosleep in an Aliens movie.
All right, sweethearts, what are you waiting for? Breakfast in bed? Another glorious day in the Corps. Day in the Marine Corps is like a day on the farm. Every meal's a banquet. Every paycheck a fortune. Every formation a parade. I love the Corps.
Man, the floor is freezing.
What do you want me to do? Fetch your slippers for you?
Or even in the Halo Forward Unto Dawn miniseries. But that's not to say that it's all bad. Space can be fun, sometimes. I do like it from time to time. I don't think I've ever met anyone who said they like space. Just the one like. Anyways, for space, you could use the same tactics. But stun locking can be a lot worse. In space, you can be surrounded from literally all directions if you're not careful. This means that sticking with your team is all that much more important. Remember that you can also boost up and down to evade enemies. For me, I like to try to fly underneath an opponent while I'm reloading, trying to line up a shot, or waiting for them to come out of invulnerability after they have been knocked down. I tend to look for some stun or staggering ability when it comes to space, since it's a lot easier to avoid machine gun fire. Staggering an enemy helps prevent them from evading your bullets so fast. I recommend you practice moving around in space before you get started. Start up a free match and fly around. The main thing I want you to practice is boosting up and down. Once you get that down, you should be ready. That pretty much covers the basis for in-game combat. The last thing that I will leave you with is to be sure to also pay attention to how your teammates and opponents play. They can also give you new ideas. See how they might use a mobile suit that you might be interested in. Thanks for sticking till the end. If you found this helpful and would like more helpful tips, be sure to like and subscribe. I will be releasing another video soon that covers how to increase your rating. As always, this has been Mobile Suit K9, signing off.